We welcome you back to the Shell for spring football at Maryland. Connor Onion, Matt McGloin, and we're getting ready to kick this thing off for the annual Red-White game. And Mike Loxley yesterday, they announced a contract extension for him through 2026. Not only his dream job, but home for the Washington, D.C. native. And he's down in the field right now with the third member of our crew, Crystal Rich.
Coach, congratulations on the contract extension. What does that mean for your vision and the direction of this program moving forward?
Well, one, very thankful that our administration, Dr. Pines and Damon Evans, my boss, really feel that the program is headed in the right direction. So it's an honor to know that I have an opportunity to continue to work and coach at my dream job.
A lot of new faces today, returning veterans, and some position battles. What is the biggest thing you are looking for in the spring game?
You know what? Anytime we come play in the Shell, I'm looking for us to play to a standard where we run, tackle, block, catch, and kick, and play to a level that we need to when we enter the Shell. And I want to stay healthy. Those are the two big things.
Coach, thank you so much, and congratulations once again.
Thanks again. Thanks, Crystal. Thanks again.
Our Crystal Rich with Mike Loxley, and here's the setup for this game. It's more traditional than some of these spring games that we've had throughout the year. It's a running clock until 4 minutes, then we get into regular clock rules.
Yeah, I was at the Penn State spring game a week ago. That was more of like a glorified practice, so I'm glad we're getting a chance to see, some type of real football type game atmosphere here. I think it's just another great opportunity for these guys to be able to get something good on tape. It gives the coaches another chance to evaluate these guys, right? Guys are competing for jobs. Guys want to play. Guys want to prove what they can do, and in this type of environment, they get the chance to do that.
So here we go from College Park with a touchback to begin it. So ball will come out. The red team offense coming out first with Talia Tangaveloa. So you saw the rules for the spring game. It's essentially 1 versus 1s with the first team offense on the red team. The white team defense is the first team defense.
Yeah, guys are going to be competing, and that's what it's about. That's what it should be. Again, it gives you another chance to come out here, get better, improve. And look, it starts right there with that guy. Honorable mention, All Big Ten a year ago. He's such a pleasure to watch. Like, some of the throws he's able to make are so impressive. And you got to remember, Connor, last year was really his first full year as a starter. So to be able to experience the ups and downs throughout a Big Ten season, we'll see if he's able to build off it here today.
Well, we talked about Jacob Copeland and adding him as a downfield threat. They'll get him involved in the run game, too. So Copeland coming in from Florida. We've seen him in the scrimmages stretch it out with some go routes, some post routes, but jet sweep game should be a weapon for them, too.
Really dangerous with the ball in his hands. Big, after the catch type ability. Really good in the run game as well.
Tagovailoa out of the pocket and wearing that black jersey today. He will not be hit. Everybody else is live outside of the quarterbacks today.
Yeah, right. And look, he can do that for you as well. Right? He can run. Nobody's going to hit him, today. But you want to keep your job there, on that defense right there. Do not hit Talia Tangaveloa today in this spring game.
Yeah, that'll get you off the white team.
But I like that. Like, even like Dan Enos, like those plays right there, right? Those little quick hitters, the dumps to the running backs, the jet motion sweeps, the trying to dump it to the tight ends. Enos loves those type plays on early downs to get third and manageable.
First look at a third down and the touch from Tagovailoa. You're just talking about some of the impressive throws that he makes. He gets Copeland there.
And even going back to some of the games last year, this is one of the better routes that he throws. The ability to drop it in just inside 2 defenders there to Copeland catch. That's good on Sundays right there, but a very impressive throw, and he's targeting Copeland early.
Of course, spring game stats don't count, but Copeland's first catch as a Terp goes for 24, and Roman Hemby breaking it out for a touchdown. So Tayon Fleet Davis moving on to the NFL draft, and one of the new backs, Roman Hemby, with his first carry for a touchdown.
How impressive out the gate already for a guy like Roman Hemby. There is competition, too, at this running back spot. We talked to Mike Loxley about that. These guys are pushing one another. Guys are fighting for carries. Only one person gets to carry the football at the running back spot, and Hemby, a guy that's appeared in 4 games a year ago, just is able to create, get outside, and nobody's catching him. What a way to start the spring game for this offense and for Roman Hemby.
Well, that is an emphasis both in the scrimmages and in this spring game today leading up, is have more of a run game for Maryland. They were almost unstoppable through the air, but can they get a little bit more on the ground? And that's a good start.
It's a passing offense, right? And everyone knows it. Everybody in the Big Ten knows that. But if you can do this, if you can add that run game. What a block by Jahari Branch as well. If you can add that element, that run game, break tackles, force guys to miss you, to be able to complement this passing game that Maryland has, it just creates so many more different options for Dan Enos and this offense. It makes you that much more explosive. Talia loves it. Talia's saying, that's it, man. Just give me a few big runs here and there. I can do the rest. He's excited. That guy's a leader, man. I mean, sprinting down, celebrating with his teammates, man. Guys love that.
That's the smooch to the stands that Mike Loxley was talking about with his quarterback.
Well, he says he's emotional, right? He's doing all that. He's waving to the crowd. He's celebrating, but it's fun, right? Football's fun. Guys feed off that. They do.
You mentioned the competition at running back, running behind that experienced offensive line. Even with running backs being new, there should be a lot of space in the running game with that experience up front.
Exactly, yeah. And even if you look at these running backs that they have here at Maryland, Chalon Falmatau, Roman Hemby, Colby McDonald, even Antoine Littleton played, a little bit for them in a couple games a year ago. There's guys that have played. There is experience at that running back spot. It's just about finding the right combination. It's about putting it all together. Who fits where? Who does what well? And again, look, behind the DJ Glazes, Jahari Branch, Spencer Anderson, and the rest of that offensive line, I mean, the experience there, it probably builds so much confidence for these running backs knowing what they have in front of them.
Pretty nasty stiff arm, too.
That helps, right? That helps.
Yeah, so by committee this year, Tayon Fleet Davis was the lead back last year. A little over 700 yards for him. So we'll get a first look at the white team offense. See a couple of different quarterbacks on the white team today, David Faust and Eric Najarian. And those two quarterbacks split reps. Both got run with the second team in last Saturday's scrimmage.
Yeah, and look, both guys have played a little bit of football for them here at Maryland. Faust appeared in a game a year ago, and Najarian has played a little bit in 2021 and in 2020. We're going to get a look at David Faust here early. We had a chance to look at that scrimmage they had a week ago on film, and for Faust, look, he's good in the pocket, he's accurate, and he's in a competition right now. Right, today's important for him.
It starts on the ground, and after the Hemby touchdown, they grounded out for a first down on the white team's first play. You were just talking about Falmatau, the other running back in competition. And he gets banged up a little bit on that run of 13 to open it up.
You don't want to see this on a day like this. Especially a guy who has appeared in a lot of football games, has come a long way, a former walk-on. You hope right now nothing serious here.
Had a couple of big games last year as a featured guy. Penn State and Indiana had touchdowns in those games. And grabbing at his calf, maybe his knee as he came down. Isaiah Hazel on the hit.
He's grabbing that right knee a little bit there.
So Chalon Falmatau down getting a look from the athletic training staff. Man, Mike Loxley was just saying that to Crystal. Number one goal, get out of here healthy today. And Falmatau staggered on his first carry of the day.
Yeah, and again, this is a team that has dealt with some injuries, right? Especially at the wide receiver spot. A few guys not playing today, holding them out, trying to get them healthy and let them recover so they can be available in the spring for our training camp at the start of the season.
So, of course, this time of the year, you don't have all your guys in that you will in the summer. So running back will be a point of positional depth for Maryland come the summer and the fall, but still waiting to get some of the high school recruits in.
And that's okay, too, right, to not have some of your guys available today or playing today, especially the guys that are veterans and experienced guys, because what does it do? It gives you a chance to develop the talent behind that, right, to build depth, to make sure your depth chart is strong so that once you get to the middle of the season of the Big Ten or late in the season even of the Big Ten, you guys that have gotten practice reps have put good things on tape, and you can count on them to put them in the middle of a game and say, all right, hey, go play for us and deliver.
Faust through the air for the first time today and gets that to the outside for Wolf going up top. And Weston Wolf, the tight end who Mike Loxley says has a wide receiver skill set, showing some track skills there too.
Right, and this is somebody that Loxley expects to continue to develop, right? He expects him to continue to improve there at that tight end spot and jumping over Levante there. Wow, that is really impressive for a guy that's 6'4", 230, right? To be able to jump like that, to be that athletic.
So Faust on the move out to the left this time. At tight end, it was a question coming into the spring because you lose a potential NFL draft pick, but Weston Wolf and C.J. Dupree, plus Corey Dyches, who will move back from wide receiver to tight end in the fall. You've got 3 guys that can catch it and run.
And Husbands as well, who's a redshirt freshman. So you're going to get a lot of look at these guys today, but there is depth there. There's talent there. It's about putting it all together.
The most competition this spring has come at running back and at linebacker for Maryland, but it's close in the tight end room too.
Yeah, no doubt as well. And like you mentioned running back, you mentioned linebacker. Even for those linebackers, right? The way these defense plays, right? A lot of guys rolling in and out, right? Defensive line, linebacker, different sets, different packages, right? Collection of guys come in, they empty the tank, right? Next collection of guys come in, right? No drop off in production. That's what you want to see out of your front 7 linebackers and defensive line. So it's important to have depth there. It's important to have competition there.
A run play on 3rd down, and Jeremy Spraggins makes the tackle on Bostic. Let's go down to Crystal.
Hey guys, as you guys mentioned, Loxley is looking to replace the production of Chigoziem Okonkwo at the tight end position with a relatively young group. Chig had a team best last year of 5 touchdowns. Sophomore C.J. Dupree played all 13 games last season, including a Pinstripe Bowl start. So he'll be making more of a leadership role, as you guys mentioned. And Locks called the minutes played by redshirt freshman Weston Wolf in the bowl game meaningful.
Yeah, it sure was, Crystal, and a hurdle for Wolf on the opening drive for the white team, but they turned it over on downs. So because of the numbers at wide receiver, having Dante Demas hurt, Rayshawn Jones, who won't play in the spring game today, 2 of their top guys that they lost to injury, they had to move Dyches to wide receiver just to get some reps and give Tagovailoa some guys to throw to.
The more you can do, right? And look, even in today's college football world, if you're a tight end, we see so many times guys split out right at the wide receiver spot. They'll play tight ends in the slot. They'll move these athletic tight ends all over the place to try to create difficult matchups, a tight end versus a linebacker, a tight end versus a safety. And the experience and reps that a guy like Dyches is getting right now is huge for him.
So Tagovailoa is back onto the field, and there's Dyches, who we were just talking about, moving to receiver this spring. He's mossed a couple of guys in these scrimmage. He's stretched the field on routes like that. He's got a first down for the red team.
Yeah, and again, the deep crossing route here. But for a guy that has played tight end, to be able to run and move like that and use his body and use his hands and catch like that, it's very impressive, and it expands the playbook for Dan Enos, right? Knowing I can put this guy wherever I want. You want to have him in the run game to block, I can do that. You want to split him out, put him in the slot. You want to run him on a deep cross across the field for a big explosive play, you can do that.
Well, 2 plays and a touchdown. Dyches and now Ty Felton into the end zone. So even without the top guys going, Tagovailoa is still spreading it around for the touchdown.
And there is another guy who has made the most of having some of these wide receivers set out throughout the spring in Ty Felton. Mike Loxley talked to us a little about how pleased he was with the development with him and the expectations. And look how quick that is from Talia right there, the footwork. Quick fake, by it, slides the arm angle just inside behind that defender, and a touchdown Ty Felton. But again, a guy like Felton and a guy like Copeland have made so much from getting reps with the ones throughout this spring, and early on we're seeing it from the both of them.
Yeah, quick set, but also, I was just thinking, running clock except on scores and change of possessions. Red team's not concerned about that at all.
Scored twice already, right? Yeah. So getting some special teams work here as well.
So Talia Tangaveloa coming off a season where he set 5 single-season program records. It was him, it was C.J. Stroud, and it was Aiden O'Connell at Purdue. Those were the top 3 quarterbacks statistically in the Big Ten, and this is what Tagovailoa did.
Yeah, it's just he's so impressive when you watch him. Some of the throws that he makes, they jump off the tape at you. For a young guy to be making those throws, not with accuracy as well. But I think one of the things, we talked a little consistency before today started, right? One of the things he needs to do, one of the things he needs to improve on is continue to develop and find consistency. I think this year, one of the things, he doesn't need to make the big play every single play. He's a creative guy, a creative player. He tries to extend a lot of plays, but sometimes the best is a throwaway or even a sack at times, right? The more experience he gets, the more playing time he gets, he'll start to realize that. But this is what I'm talking about with the accuracy, right? To be able to turn the football over, to drop it into a spot like that and let your guy go get it, and then look at the quick footwork, right? The slide arm angle almost on the side there to fit the ball into where it has to go to Ty Felton. I mean, early on in this game, you're seeing the growth and the development of Talia and being able to work with Dan Enos now here in his second year. It's just going to help him drastically.
Well, wasn't that fun yesterday, Matt? Mike Loxley was nice enough to set us up with the technology and the clicker in their film room.
Yeah.
And they have this awesome camera angle right inside the huddle where you can look at the quarterback's footwork. And it's great seeing how quick he drops and gets set.
There was 4 different camera angles, right? We were watching the same play 4 or 5 different times, just how impressive that was. And right, the Jones Hill Fieldhouse here across the street. What an impressive facility they have here right now. And then obviously add in, coach's new contract, and they're committed to winning. And he talked to us a little bit about the standard. 7-6 is not the standard here, right? They're nowhere near the standard is. But they're certainly on their way to that. This is a football team that and a football program as well that's headed in the right direction.
So Chad Ryland's kickoff went out of bounds. So that'll bring it out to the 35 for Eric Najarian, who was David Faust at quarterback on that first drive for the white team. Najarian's a guy that has some experience starting. In 2020, he started the Rutgers game.
Yeah, and again, look, these quarterbacks are in competition as well. Najarian's played a little bit of football. Does a great job of handling that snap there. But yeah, when you have some backups that have a little bit of experience, know what it's like being in that game atmosphere, understand what it's like prepping, for a game as well. It's important, right? I mean, even Faust was the scout team offensive player of the year a year ago. So these guys take a lot of pride, being quarterbacks, being the backup quarterback. There's a lot that goes into it, but you got to know at any point in time, Connor, your name could be called. You have to go in and play.
And that's what happened to Najarian in the 5-game season in 2020. That was a back and forth game that he started in 7 lead changes against Rutgers. Played well too.
Yeah, 12 of 23 for 218 and 2 touchdowns a few years back, and led Maryland to 21 points in the second half. So again, in the half, Faust, played a little bit in that game against Howard a year ago. Guys have experience, and that is so hard to come by, is getting guys in games and getting those meaningful reps.
Here's Najarian's first throw of the day, and that's broken up and incomplete. There's TJ Kautai, guy on the defense that flashes, according to Mike Loxley, coming in at linebacker.
Yeah, the senior linebacker appeared a few games ago. You remember Kautai, was a top linebacker recruit and one of the better junior college recruits in America, and he's certainly a guy that is competing for playing time right now.
A former defensive back, so he can get out in the open field. He played defensive back in junior college. So not only a guy that can come off the edge and blitz, but he'll get out in the open field and tackle too.
Yeah, and right, another guy you're talking about tackling, Tommy King-Basote, right there, appeared in 7 games a year ago on the defensive line at 3 solo tackles. He's got really good hands, right? Really a strong player as well there on the defensive line.
Just absolutely blowing up double teams when we were watching the scrimmage film.
That defensive line does a great job of being strong, being physical, and then reacting and seeing where the ball is.
Another coverage great on this drive. Isaiah Hazel, after Kautai had the breakup earlier. There's Hazel coming in from the defensive backfield.
Hazel is one of those guys who adds depth and experience to this secondary. I mean, that's a great job with the left hand. A lot of times guys get caught. You see that right hand, he lets go. But a lot of times in that position, guys will grab and pull, and that's where you see flags. But Hazel does a great job of letting go. You got to remember, this guy was a top-rated offensive player in the state of Maryland, coming in here and be able to make the change and the transition to defensive back, and played in the games he's played in, has experience, and again, adds depth to what that secondary is. The secondary is one of the stronger parts of this entire football team.
In the corners, so important too, because you've got young safeties back there for Maryland. Mike Loxley telling us yesterday the success of the safeties hinges on his veteran corners. Hey, every Big Ten team, every Big Ten sport, customize your way on the new Big Ten Plus app powered by Big Ten Network. Stream hundreds of live, non-televised events, plus next-day re-airs. It all adds up to a bigger Big Ten. Download and subscribe today. Good setup with what's going on around campus today. On the Big Ten Plus app later, you can catch Maryland baseball, Maryland softball. Mark Montgomery's got the softball team playing well. How about Ryan Ramsey? Pitched a perfect game last night over at the Bob for Maryland baseball.
We took a walk, my family and I, we took a walk around campus, and I kid you not, there was a foul ball. It landed probably 10 feet in front of us. A few seconds later, I would have probably ended up at the hospital.
Yeah, that's a dangerous place to walk down there because some windshields have been taken out too. But this was the first perfect game in Maryland baseball history since 1959.
Wow, that's impressive. Really impressive. I think it was 9-0. When I was walking past the stadium last night. But what an incredible job to be able to do something like that, how special that is to do in today's game.
And catch game 2 of that series on the Big Ten Plus app. Softball plays at Michigan State at 2 Eastern. So does baseball here in College Park at 2 Eastern right after our coverage here. By the way, that was Ryan Ramsey's first Friday night start. They moved him into the top of the rotation. Wow. Throws a perfect game. So third drive here for Talia Tangaveloa after the quick score, and he likes getting it out to Dyches. You can see that early.
Yeah, they're utilizing Dyches, and that's a lot of times that's what this time is for, right? The spring game, to see what guys can do, right? Put them in situations where they normally haven't been in, or they're forced to put them in. And a guy like Dyches here, again, was a tight end a year ago, and now he's playing that wide receiver spot a little bit, and he's made a few catches here today. And that just shows you the body control as well. Back hip throw, to be able to turn and catch it, it's impressive.
A former basketball star in the DMV, Corey Dyches, had a chance to walk on here if he wanted to. And fourth down coming up for Tangaveloa in the offense. So again, this is ones versus ones, the red offense versus the white defense, and the first win for the white defense.
That was really good coverage there by Tarheap still. Just a throwaway there by Talia, but Tarheap still is another one of those guys that has played a lot of football for them. He's fast, he's physical, reacts well, he's good in coverage. He can play corner, he can play nickel for you. Again, they'll drop him into coverage. They'll bring him off the edge. He's one of those guys that can do so many different things for you. And look, now he's back here on punt return.
Well, Maryland fans remember well what he did in the return game last year in the bowl game. So that comes up shy of the 50. But it was a do-or-die situation against Rutgers to get into a bowl to get that 6th win last year. And a 40-16 win, Tangaveloa using his legs. And that defense came up big in those last 2 games. Brian Williams, who's now the defensive coordinator, he was the acting defensive coordinator the final 2 games. They allowed 16 points and 10 points in the games that he called.
Yeah, you can tell that the team felt the change, especially on that defensive side of the ball. Playing with a lot of energy, a lot of emotion. Guys were feeding off one another. It was exciting to watch. Those last 2 games that Rutgers played, that they played against Rutgers and Virginia Tech that Maryland played.
There was a connectivity in those final couple of games that Mike Locksley pointed to. Finishing 7-6, 5th in the Big Ten East, hoping to close the gap with some of the top teams in the top division in all of college football. You think about 6 losses, 5 of those came against top 25 teams.
Yeah, well, now the standard, for Maryland becomes, right, a bowl game is the minimum. What bowl game are we now going to, right? How do we continue to get better? How do we continue to improve? And we talked a little bit about slogans with Coach Locksley yesterday. The slogan for this year is committed and connected.
That comes from a time in the film room where he was just all smiles watching that bowl game back, saying that he couldn't help but smile because they were having so much fun being with one another in New York.
That's how you have something special, right? Everybody's enjoying being around one another. Guys are picking each other up on the field, and now we're going to get a chance to look at Zachary Johnson here as a quarterback spot. Didn't appear in a game last year, but
Jackson going up top there, incomplete. Yeah, Jackson is a third-generation Terp. He knew he wanted to do this for a long time. So this is a big day on Maryland Day with some alumni back here getting to play in front of a TV audience. 3 and out for Jackson on his first drive, though. It's Gavin Gibson that had that play out of the secondary. So this is an area where you get Jacob Copeland into the program. He can help in the return game. He's back to receive here inside the 10. And a fair catch back at the 5.
You're talking return game, right? We've seen Copeland back there. We've seen Still back there, right? Deontay Banks is another guy as well. You can see the return game. A lot of weapons.
So that's the end of the first with the running clock. Steak and lobster on the line today. The red team has the early edge in getting that steak dinner lead 14-zip after 1 quarter from College Park. Start of the second quarter from the red-white game at College Park. Connor Onion, Matt McGloin, Crystal Rich down on our sidelines. And 2 quick scoring drives for the red team, led by Talia Tangaveloa. And their first look backed up here. Kind of came easy for them on those first 2 drives before they were forced to punt on their third one.
We're gonna get a look at this backed up offense right here. Did you see how quick Hippolyte was able to fill there? Just so impressive. I think, again, Coach Loxley talked to us a little bit about that competition at the linebacker level. Competition is healthy. It brings out the best in you. And I think, again, we're going to see the best version of number 11 here as he enters his 3rd year, with this program as a defensive starter.
Well, and Maryland would like to see some of those tackles start to flow back toward their linebackers, because the top 2 tacklers last year, Jordan Mosley and Nick Cross, were in the secondary.
Yeah, and look, how do you replace those guys, right? How do you find somebody to fill that void left by, 2 of the better defenders at the safety spot to come across this program in a long time, right? Bo Braid, is a guy that has great instincts, gets downhill fast, can play well for you. Dante Trader, is another guy that you can see. But again, they have a lot of options of what they can do here defensively and in that secondary to fill the void left by those 2 special players.
Nick Cross drafted last night by the Colts, going to the 3rd round to Indianapolis. There's Copeland over the middle, and this is what he's going to do for Maryland. He's going to be a run after the catch type guy, and he's got a first down.
Yeah, he's so quick in and out of his breaks, right? Especially versus zone like that. He's got a good feel and a good understanding of where the voids are. And what I love is this right here by Talia. Look at that. Hitch, ball's out of my hand. I'm throwing to his spot. I know exactly where you're supposed to be. I know exactly where the weakness of this defense is, and it's a big explosive play and a big completion. Look at that, 86 receptions a year ago, over 1,300 yards at Florida. And one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing is that when everybody at this wide receiver position gets healthy, how are you going to utilize all that talent with Rakim, Jay-Sean Jones, Dante Demas, and that guy right there, and Jacob Copeland?
Well, look, Matt, Maryland fans are probably sitting at home, or maybe if you're not a Maryland fan, you're sitting at home and wondering, how do you get all these guys the ball? Tagovailoa can spread it. Got it to 20 different pass catchers last year.
Yeah, right. I mean, look, a lot of times, when you have weapons like that on the outside, you try to force it to here, you try to make sure everybody's getting their catches, but the more you play, the more experience you become, right? Let the defense dictate where the ball goes, right? Let Dan Enos game plan, let him put his wide receivers in the slot, at the X, at the Z. What routes do they run well? What concepts, do they understand the best, right? Put them in that position so that the ball finds them almost in a way.
So these are the guys that are the core returners, Demas, Jarrett, and Jones. None of them playing today. Marcus Fleming also out after breaking his leg late in last year. But they are expected to get all these guys back in the summer, and of course for the opener against Buffalo on September 3rd.
I mean, arguably the best in the Big Ten, right, at the wide receiver position here. Rakim is an honorable mention All Big Ten guy, as is Dante Demas as well. And Jay-Sean Jones has been here for a long time and has played in a lot of football games and made some big plays for this program.
How about that catch? It won't count out of bounds on the free play with the offsides, but Ty Felton tightrope the sideline.
And another guy battling for time and battling for catches right there, Ty Felton.
5-yard penalty. Repeat, 3rd down.
Felton down the sideline. Yeah, definitely out of bounds.
Way out of bounds. But again, another guy like Felton who, there's certainly high expectations for him as well, in fighting and really competing this spring.
He had a hamstring injury late in the year last year, Ty Felton. But this spring, we've seen that exactly. Starting to stretch the field again, and Ty Felton's hamstring looking good. Back-to-back drives here where the white team defense wins it, forcing a punt.
Getting a look at Spencer Anderson there, one of the more experienced offensive linemen here on this Maryland team, and one of the better offensive linemen in all of the Big Ten, right? This guy's an honorable mention all Big Ten guy, started all 13 games on the offensive line, right? One of the leaders of this Maryland football team.
Booming punt from Colton Spangler. Let's go down to the field with Crystal. She's with Damon Evans, the AD.
Damon Evans, thank you so much for joining us. After Michael Locksley signed his 5-year contract extension, you said that he revitalized this football program. Where do you see the program moving under his direction in the future?
First and foremost, I'm excited about Locks. He's from the DMV. He loves this university. He grew up around this area, so he's committed. What he's done is he's really built a culture. It's about leadership. If you get the right culture, you recruit good players, the sky's the limit. He's done just that.
Now, I know that you were a 4-year starter back in your collegiate days. If he calls your number, will you be available?
I'm always available, but I only got one play in me. That's a fade route, and that's it.
That's all you got nowadays. Now, Maryland is seeing a lot of success in their spring sports. What do you attribute that to?
Our coaches, our student athletes, just working really, really hard. It's been incredible, from both men's and women's lacrosse to what happened in baseball last night with a perfect game. It's just been across the board, and I couldn't be happier for our kids.
Now, there's some exciting news with the men's basketball program, new head coach. Why was Kevin Willard the man for Maryland?
A great X's and O's guy. Again, I believe in leadership and culture, and I saw what he established at Seton Hall. And then he's a great recruiter. And then he understood that we needed some DMV Maryland people on staff, and he went out and did that.
Now, there might be some pads over here. Will we see you in the spring game if your number is called upon? Potentially. You got the sunglasses on. You have to look.
You know what? I like standing on the sideline, so we can look at the game. I'm not getting out there and hurting myself.
All right. Thank you so much, Damon. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and we'll send it back to the booth.
All right, thanks, Crystal. Yeah, Damon Evans, he was a good 4-year player for Vince Dooley, the legend at Georgia. We'll see if he follows through on Crystal's wish, getting on the pads today. But Evans and Crystal nailed it. Great hires, of course, with Mike Locksley. That was one of the first hires that Evans made when he was the AD, named in 2018. And The Athletic said that Kevin Willard, that was the best hire in all of college basketball this offseason.
Yeah, I was waiting for a Locksley extension. It was only a matter of time. The job that he's done since he's been here. And we talked to him about that, right? They're gonna try to build on that bowl win. And they want to start to compete and close the gap on the championship teams in this league.
I love that he kind of played it cool with us yesterday. Crystal got on our call with Coach Locksley, said, "Congratulations, Coach." And he's like, "What happened today?"
Right? Yeah.
Anything happened today? But that goes back to a lot of the conversations he's had with Talia Tangaveloa about the kill the play in 4 to 6 seconds, right? A play lasts for 4 to 6 seconds. News lasts for 4 to 6 seconds. Then we're on to the next.
Everything has a shelf life, right? You don't dwell on plays. You move on, right? You have to have a short memory as a quarterback, right? Whether it's a successful play or whether it's a negative play. Whatever it may be, continue to move on, continue to play the game one play at a time.
One of the things Mike Locksley brought from Alabama is basically like a psychoanalysis program where they put these guys through testing, not just with your shuttle run or your 40-yard dash, but figuring out how these guys learn the best with psychology professionals. And great to hear him talk about that in the offseason, just about how that worked for Nick Saban in Alabama, and how a guy like Devontae Smith learns the best, and he can apply that to a guy like Ty Felton or Rakim Jarrett or any of the other receivers.
Well, that's your job, right? As coach, whether you're a coordinator, a positional coach, or a head coach, how do I get the best out of my player? How do I get the best version of this guy day in and day out? And on top of that, it's how do I motivate this guy to want to learn and want to get better each and every day?
A lot of carries for Colby McDonald on this drive. One of the guys competing for that lead tailback position. McDonald, we've seen a big run from Hemby today. Antoine Littleton. A lot of options back there come opening night.
Yeah, and that was Ahmad McCullough, on that tackle there too, right? He is 6'2", 225. Mike Locksley said he's developed this spring. Appeared in 12 out of 13 games a year ago with 3 starts. He's a big, long guy who can create plays, moves very good laterally. Really good tackler in the open field as well.
Watching you watch film yesterday, your mouth was open a couple of times. Oh my goodness, there goes McCullough again with the open field tackle.
Just got better as the year went on, right? We talk about experience, talk about reps, talk about playing, talk about making the most of your opportunity and most of the reps that you're given. And he's a guy that has done that. And even comparing what we saw in film to some of the things he's already done today, he's much more impressive than he was a year ago.
McCullough can play inside, outside, all across all 4 linebacker positions for Maryland. And with the white team on the march here, let's go down to Crystal.
Guys, Chalon Falmataw had his right knee wrapped in ace bandage. He was visibly upset on the sideline, head in hands, in so much so that some of his other teammates dealing with injuries came over and gave him a pat on the back. But just a few minutes ago, he took the ace bandage off and started warming up on the sidelines, just doing a few drills to stay warm. So that potentially may be a good sign.
Great sign, Crystal. Thank you for that update. Yeah, that was the first carry of the day for Falmataw, a guy that was a former walk-on, had the great story last year at the Ravens preseason game, and Talia Tangaveloa got to announce that he was on scholarship in front of a big crowd in Baltimore.
Yeah, 9 games a year ago with 1 start versus Penn State. Was 3rd on the team, 235 rushing yards. On 56 carries, it's a little over 4 yards a carry. So this is a guy that has been a contributor here. And we hope he can get back to being, as healthy as soon as he can.
That pass is knocked up into the air and got an offensive lineman catch.
You don't see that often. Eric Harris on the catch there.
Right into his lap. I don't even know if he was trying to catch it.
Look at him carrying the ball, though. The technique was pretty good. But there's a guy, Eric Harris, is somebody that adds a ton of depth to that offensive line. Can play guard, can play center.
Can play receiver, apparently.
Right, yeah. Little good run after the catch there as well.
Maybe a little fullback at 310 pounds. Faust gets tagged down in the rollout. Harris was a guy that started 8 games at center last year, and then they moved Spencer Anderson inside from tackle to center, but Harris was still available in every game, and like you said, can play inside and outside.
Yeah, and junior out of Pensacola, Florida, 6'3", 305, and again, when you've got a guy that can play center, he can play left guard, he can play right guard, he can play multiple positions for you, you just always need to be prepared when you're in those spots, because you never know, again, when your name's going to be called, you got to go in there. But whether you're an offensive line coach, you get coordinator, head coach, whatever it be, knowing you have depth, knowing you have guys that can play is just crucial to the success of your offense. And, this offensive line, look at the career starts there, and even on top of that, there's well over 100 career games that these guys have played in. So guys have experience, and Mike Locksley has done a great job of bringing guys along, right? Getting guys reps here, getting guys rep there, getting them game experience, and then saying, okay, now it's time for you to go play. Now it's time for you to be a starter for us. You want to compete for Big Ten championships. You want to compete in the Big Ten East. It starts right there. with that offensive line.
And this is the first time in 4 years they've had that stability coming back from previous season on the offensive line.
Yeah, look, we've talked a bunch about those guys, and Coach singled out DJ Glaze. He's like, he's really come along this spring, and watching him on film, he moves so well for a big guy at 6'4", 315.
And they brought in a junior college transfer that was an All-American twice over, Maximus McCree. I mean, it's not out of line to think that they could potentially play 7-8 offensive linemen throughout the year.
Right, again, that's depth, right? Because, again, once you get to the Big Ten, you start playing the Michigan States, the Michigans, Ohio States, Wisconsins, Penn States, and stuff like that, right? I mean, depth is important. Depth is crucial to the success of your program.
How about Tangaveloa drilling another deep middle ball into Copeland?
Finding him early. Again, these reps are so important for a guy like Copeland. And again, I'm throwing to a spot similar to what we saw earlier. The stop catch, to be able to feel what's around you, right? To avoid a big hit, get more yardage, protect yourself, and protect the football. It's a great job by Copeland.
Well, they got to keep that live, right? Blew it dead. Hemby went with the lateral out to Tangaveloa.
Easy now. You don't want him taking any hits, right? We got to be safe out here.
Oh, that was all green grass out in front. I don't think he's getting hit. Yeah, he's gone.
Got to be careful doing that. Got to be careful with the football.
The unplanned flea flicker without the throw after it. Seriously, though, with Tangaveloa, we were talking a little bit yesterday about whether or not Maryland will use him in the true running game with the designed runs a little bit more. He had his best rushing game in the bowl game, but of course you always want to keep him upright and keep him healthy.
I think it's just, look, you can run him as much as you want, right? But you have to be careful with doing that. He's also got to be careful as well. He's got to protect himself, right? Get what you can get and slide. Get the first down, slide. Get the first down, get out of bounds, right? We want to avoid big hits. We don't want to be taking major hits or unnecessary hits at the quarterback position.
Well, that in the direction of C.J. Dupree again. He's flashed it a few times where he can make you miss in the open field and maybe do some more design quarterback runs for him. It could be why it's important for Nigerian and Faust to perform in this game. Just to know that you have that stability of, if a guy like that goes down, you've got two guys behind him that can play.
Exactly. And that has to have Dan Enos feeling good that, you've got a bit of a competition behind Talia and Faust and Nigerian. And going back to C.J. Dupree there, Dupree is a guy who, they think could step up and fill that void left by Chiga Kwanko, who could potentially hear his name, today at the NFL draft. But, Dupree's an animal in the run game, just has to continue to develop and become that pass game threat.
Yeah, lots of pro Terps, including in the USFL. USFL action continues today. Doubleheader on Fox at 4 Eastern. It's Tampa Bay against Houston, then Birmingham against New Orleans. So these are the guys in the USFL. Will Likely, 2016 Maryland grad, plays for Houston. Great return man. He had the single-game Big Ten record in 2015. Savon Walker, Tino Ellis, Marcus Lewis, all repping the Terps in the USFL.
There's a place for it, for the USFL, for the XFL, Connor, and having been a part of the XFL in 2020, right? There's so much talent out there. Sometimes guys just need that extra year to learn how to lift, to learn how to watch film, to understand how to be a pro. So I'm a big fan of the USFL. I'm a big fan of the XFL. There's absolutely a place for professional football like that in today's sports. Again, because there's so much talent out there. These guys just need that one more chance to get something on film, one more chance to grow and develop. Everybody's trying to get back to the NFL, and these are great ways to go that direction.
You played for the New York Guardians, and the XFL, Savon Walker from Maryland was on that team. Spend much time around him?
No, not too much. No, it's tough. It's you kind of focused on your job. You do your best to, kind of become friends and talk to your teammates and things like that. But we stopped playing after only a few weeks.
Right.
In the XFL
didn't have much time
because of COVID. Which was difficult because the way they did things was just right. The XFL, I felt like they did a fantastic job of giving everybody an opportunity, making everybody feel like they were home. In a way, and some of those guys caught on with NFL teams, and some of the guys are continuing to play, and some of those guys are playing in the USFL.
Savon Walker being one of them, former Chicago Bear, played with the Kansas City Chiefs a little bit after finishing up his career at Maryland. So the white team moving it, trying to get their first score before halftime. That was Weston Wolf over the middle, his second catch.
Yeah, Wolf's got some pretty good hands here. He's showing us, in this first half. There's definitely competition at that tight end spot.
And Eric Nigerian has his team moving down the field, back-to-back first downs and the dump off to McDonald.
Yeah, when you can add a running back as a threat in the pass game, it's huge for your offense, right? I mean, linebackers get depth, safeties, corners, everybody starts to get depth. Next thing you know, you've got a running back out on a check option route or a swing route or anything like that, and you're able to get the ball in their hands, and guys like McDonald or guys like Hemby can create for you in the pass game, just spreads and opens everything up for you.
So a little bit of a look at the 2-minute offense with Eric Nigerian back behind center. And this is the schedule for Maryland. And you made an interesting comparison what this Maryland team could be. They could surprise some teams in the East.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were the Michigan State of 2022. Right? I mean, this is a good football team. It's an experienced football team. It's going to be one of the better offenses in all of the Big Ten. There's depth on the defensive side. They certainly are going to, run into some tough games there throughout November, right at Wisconsin, at Penn State, at Ohio State. I think they can steal, one of those games. I really do. But this is a good team. I think this Maryland football team is going to surprise a lot of people in the Big Ten.
A Big Ten opener with the champs playing Michigan, and then that backloaded stretch against some of the top teams in the league. So after the timeout, Colby McDonald churning it out again for a first down. So in the run game, he can go between the tackles, but also out on the edge twice now.
I like what Nigerian's doing as well. Just taking what the defense is giving me, right? I'm looking. I don't have anything. Obviously, it's a screen pass here. Does a great job at drifting, but he's just not doing too much. He's just trying to play within the system, operate this offense, and he's marching right down the field.
Kobe McDonald helping him out on the receiving ends of Nigerian's passes. He is a broken tackle machine. We've seen that in the scrimmages, too.
You have to be. As a running back, you have to be in the run game or in the pass game.
And Nigerian gets it out quickly again underneath. You're right, it's singing. He's drifting. He's fitting it into tight windows and leading his team at least into field goal range here.
No, look, and this is one of the things about a 2-minute drill. I know we're under, some different type of rules today, but they are keeping this 4-minute, this 2-minute drill, is what you would see, on Saturdays in the fall. And, I think one of the things that quarterbacks do sometimes in a 2-minute drill are tend to force throws, right? Feel like you don't have a lot of time. You have to get down the field in a hurry, but something like Nigerian is doing right now and what quarterbacks need to do is understand that you do have time, right? Take completions, slowly move yourself down the field.
Well, hey, coming up later today, catch softball as the Gophers and Wolverines continue their series in Ann Arbor. Coverage begins today at 4 Eastern on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Caught some of Lisa Byington, Jenny Ritter last night. Natalie Den Hartog, 3-run home run and a 3-2 win from Minnesota. All 3 games of that series on Big Ten Network. Game 3 coming up tomorrow at noon Eastern. So 13 seconds until the half. And the white team looking for their first score with Eric Nigerian leading the white team down at quarterback. And it's been him and McDonald playing catch, their third connection for a first down in this drive. So another timeout with 5 seconds to go after the pickup of 16. It's been underneath to the running backs for Nigerian to get him into field goal range.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Taking what the defense, that was a nice play and a nice tackle there by Levante Gator there. The scene right out of Palmer Park, Maryland. As a junior, appeared in all 13 games with 2 starts at corner, 23 tackles, 21 solo, and a forced fumble a year ago. So that's another guy to keep your eye on there in the secondary as Maryland heads into the summer and training camp, and could be a guy we see week in and week out on Saturdays.
So that sets it up for a 32-yard field goal try for Jack Howes. Got his first experience at Maryland in the Pinstripe Bowl, kicking off a couple of times. And Howes from 32 with plenty of leg, and he nails it for the white team. So the red team got out quick, scored on their first 2 drives, then the defense took over before Nigerian let him down for the Howes field goal. Your thoughts on the first half?
Good, it's good. I mean, these quarterbacks are getting some reps, to see guys like Faust, Nigerian be able to get to completions, lead their team down the field to some points. It's fast. Right, it's going fast at this running clock. It's a bit different, but it's fun. Spring football is fun. It's exciting to be back inside this atmosphere and watch a team like Maryland go out there and compete on this wonderful Saturday afternoon.
So Mike Locksley can be a little laissez-faire at this halftime, letting the coordinators take over the locker room speeches. Defensive coordinator Brian Williams coaching up the red team, and offensive coordinator Dan Enos will deliver the locker room inspiration for the white team. Jacob Copeland and Talia Tangaveloa dancing their way through that first segment with the red team leading in the spring game from College Park. Welcome back to the Maryland spring football game. Hey, coming up this week, don't miss live coverage of the 2022 Big Ten lacrosse tournaments as the Maryland men and women look to bring home the titles. It all starts Thursday with the men's semis, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Both the men and the women at Maryland, Big Ten regular season champs. The men are #1 in the country. Women had that big game from Libby May last weekend to clinch the title against Northwestern. Men's tournament will be right here next Thursday on Big Ten Network. So getting ready for the start of the second half, back with Matt McGloin, Crystal Rich down at the sidelines, Connor Onion here at the Shell, touching the turtle, the red team with the lead. They've got the early edge on the steak and lobsters. The loser in this game, they got to settle for the beans and the hot dog.
Oh, I would definitely want steak and lobster, right? That's important to me right now. I mean, that's how you create competition right there, man. You know what's awesome? That when they run out of that shell right there, how great is that? How great of a look is that? That's so cool. It's such a cool atmosphere here in college football.
We call it Hell in the Shell for good reason.
That was a great tradition. Very, very, very cool.
All right, so here's the format. This is amended a little bit for the second half. We're going to go to 12-minute quarters, and then when we get late in the half, if there is time, before we get you out to the Minnesota spring game after this, regular clock rules in the final 4 minutes. So red team, again, that's the first team offense. White team has the first team defense, so you get 1s against 1s and 2s against 2s. And there's the visual of what we're playing for. The steak and the lobster for the winning team at today's spring game. All right, let's go down to Crystal on the sidelines.
Coach, it already seems like Talia has a good connection with Jacob Coleman, someone who you heavily recruited. What are you seeing out of the wideout?
That first group of offensive guys that are playing with Talia, I thought they started off fast. Jacob's made a couple of plays for us, which is what we've seen throughout the spring, the development of that chemistry that's needed. Like to see us finish some drives with that group, but I'm more happy with that white group and how they've been able to move the ball, but we got to finish drives like we did at the end of the half.
Who in that white group, especially some of the newcomers, are sticking out to you?
I think that second O-line. I mean, you look and see Andre Roy out there, Maximus McCree, Eric Harris, and in the running game, whether it was Challen early on before he went down, and now Kobe McDonald switching over. I like the way the run game looks with that second group.
Coach, thanks so much.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Crystal. Again, if you just flipped us over, Mike Locksley announced yesterday contract extension, 5-year extension locked up through 2026. Get a little pay bump in there, too. So a lot of good things going. There's the official announcement that went out on social media yesterday, and, of course, he's from Washington, D.C. A big, big deal to have this job and to do it for a while longer now.
It's important moving forward and for, the recruiting aspect of it as well, obviously. The guy he mentioned, Andre Roy, right? Top-rated offensive lineman in Maryland, 14th ranked player in all Maryland, according to ESPN. And we're getting a chance to watch him a little bit today. We watched him on film in that scrimmage. We broke down. You can just tell how talented he is of a player. And when you have an experienced offensive line ahead of you for a younger player, to be able to learn from those guys and watch those guys is crucial for your development. So he's in a fantastic place right now. And District Heights, Maryland guy, you're seeing more and more of these guys in this Maryland area stay home and go to Maryland. And it's because of Mike Locksley.
When in years past, they might have gone to other Big Ten schools, but Mike Loxley's kept him at home. Got a lot of guys from DeMatha Catholic, St. Francis. Has 8 players on this team from the DMV area. So it'll be the white team out first, and Eric Nigerian, him and David Faust have taken most of the reps at quarterback on this white team, and nice drive for Nigerian to get in field goal range before the half. He'll be the first one out for Mike Loxley in the second half. Drive that started all the way back at their 30 and ended with a 32-yard field goal for Jack House.
You know, one of the better performances in that first half was from tight end Weston Wolf. He's lined up on the left side here at tight end. Keep an eye on him here in the second half.
Well, he's in there pass blocking, and that's complete to one of the new guys at wide receiver, Karan Ball. Who wasn't on the team last fall. They actually had walk-on tryouts at wide receiver because of some of the injuries, and added Yassin Abdallah and Karan Ball late in the spring. You know, with those wide receivers, we've seen Ball come in and make some plays in the scrimmage too. Remember, he had that single-side touchdown last Saturday's scrimmage. We were debating a little bit, was it a tackle or was it not a tackle? But Ball broke the tackle and scored a touchdown last week.
Hey, if they don't call it in a scrimmage or even in today's game, just keep running. Right, just keep going. It's a touchdown, it's a touchdown. But no, it's good for guys like, for Abdallah, for Ball, you know, for those younger guys and newer guys to be getting these reps out here today.
Tank Booker, the defensive lineman for the red team, is the one coming off here. We saw Challen Famatau go down with injury early in the first half. Now Booker. Outside of that, it has been a healthy scrimmage so far.
Yeah, it looks like he gets rolled up on there in the middle. I mean, that's another nice run by Colby McDonald, but Tank Booker's another one of those guys that's played a lot of football here for Maryland, right? The junior, playing a lot of games as a sophomore, a lot of games as a freshman.
Strong run for Andrew Bostic to get a first down. It's nice now for the Booker family, right? Dad Anthony, Mom Marcia. You've got Tank Booker, the older of the two brothers, now joined by Bam Booker, coming into the program as an early enrollee in the defensive line.
Makes traveling on Saturdays very easy, right?
Yeah, no split coasts either. Nothing like that. Coming from Cincinnati. One of 6 early enrollees for Maryland in this spring. They'll get their full squad together this summer. Bostic's another guy that they added from Lackawanna College up in your neck of the woods in Scranton. Coming in, running the ball hard.
A lot of good talent out of Lackawanna College up there in Scranton in Northeast PA. And, you know, there's a nice tackle there by Glenn Miller, the redshirt sophomore out of Orange Park, Florida. Mike Loxley talked about him, right? We're talking a lot about the secondary and the depth and, you know, what that rotation can look like, who can play. And he said, listen, Glenn Miller has had a great spring for us, and he's been making plays like that today.
Back to the ground. Miller, first couple of years, he's seen the field, but not significant snaps. That should change this year in the secondary for Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, you've got a collection of guys that can play. Obviously, you start with the Bankses and you know, Jacorian Bennett, Tarheeb, Isaiah Hazel, Kenny Bennett, right? Corey Coley, and you add a guy like Glenn Miller into that mix, and you've got a lot of depth. You've got a lot of weapons. You can get really creative defensively.
Yeah, again, in the secondary, we talked about it a little bit in the first half, but you lose your top 2 tacklers in Mosley and Cross, and you expect that Bo Braid, Dante Trader will start at the safety spots. Very smart safeties, just not a lot of game experience. The corners are going to be so important for this team, getting Deontay Banks back, having an all Big Ten returner in Jacorian Bennett.
Right, and I think that's important for any team, right? How good your corners are, how healthy your corners are. It takes a lot of pressure off of those safeties. But with Braid and Trader, both have really good instincts. Loxley talked about them, you know, being able to get the defense in the right positioning, into the right play. You know, again, guys that have played, but those are certainly 2 big voids that you know are needed to be filled here at Maryland.
And Levante Gator, a guy that has starting experience. He started the Michigan State game on the road last year.
Yeah, Gator's a guy who we saw making plays already today, right? He appeared in all 13 games a year ago with 2 starts at corner, 23 tackles, 21 solo, that forced fumble. So, he's been playing since a freshman here. Guy that's played a ton of special teams, too, so he's a big contributor for this Maryland football team.
And the field goal is blocked. Red team gets home. Isaiah Hazel scoops it up. And they blow it dead in the blocked field goal. So Coley was in on it. Looked like he was the one that got the hand on before it was picked up by Hazel.
That's a great job by Hazel going inside, forcing that left side to try to block 2 guys, and Coley comes free off the edge.
So we were just talking about the defensive backfield. It's Coley making a play on special teams. Gator started in the secondary. Coley started some in the secondary against Ohio State and Penn State. And if you're Mike Locksley, you like to see your guys on the front of that special teams unit get the block, but you don't like to see it get blocked, so they're going to try it again.
He doesn't look happy. They're going to kick it again.
And with no rush this time, it squibs off to the left. So block and a miss for Harrison Beatty. One of the place kickers this year with Joseph Petrino graduating. He was the kicker last year. And again, this is a huge emphasis this spring, is the kicking game. Chad Ryland comes in from Eastern Michigan, competing for the starting kicking job. Saw Howes kick a field goal and now Beatty.
Yeah, it's so important to the way you game plan, right? The way your game goes, right? If I enter plus territory, I'm entering the red zone. I got to know whether I already have 3 points in the bank, right? Because if I'm unsure of my kicking situation, that's going to force me to do different things on 3rd down, potentially go for it on 4th down if you don't have faith and trust in your kicker. But again, they've got a collection of guys here that all can get the job done, and we've seen it a few times today.
Ami Finau with the tackle. One of the returning all Big Ten players along the front line on the defense for Maryland.
He's one of those guys on that D-line who he controls whoever blocks him, right? He's so strong at the point of attack. He's great at using his eyes, and he's so good at throwing an offensive lineman and going and making a play. As you mentioned, 2021 honorable mention All Big Ten, right? 12 starts on that D-line a year ago, 40 tackles, 27 solo. Just a really, really good, really strong player.
And he did it again. So Finau, you said singular. He controls the offensive lineman in front of him. Sometimes it's a double team, and he controls 2 guys.
He's just so good at protecting his gap, right? Staying strong, right? Doesn't get washed. Just really understands how to play that position alongside, and we're not going to get a chance to see him today. Mo Nasili Kite. Where's number 33? Another great player, for this defensive line.
So Roman Hemby is short of the 1st down. Punt is coming. Nick Cross is here, by the way, who was drafted last night by the Indianapolis Colts. The Matha Catholic's own, from about 3 miles south of here. He's down lingering around on the sidelines. Sounds like Crystal has spotted him. Get you an interview with him coming up after this punt. I saw a big punt from Spangler in that first half. This one a little bit shorter, out past midfield. And it'll be the white team taking back over. Here's Crystal with Nick Cross.
Guys, Nick Cross drafted in round 3 in the NFL draft to the Indianapolis Colts. He is from Maryland. Are you ready for the Colt in Indianapolis?
I'm ready. I feel like, Maryland's prepared me, so I feel like I'm ready to go.
Congratulations. How are you feeling right now that you know that you have made it to the NFL?
I think it still hasn't hit me yet. Last night getting a call and knowing that now, you go from a college student to a draft prospect, and now you're a professional football player, you're in the NFL, so it still hasn't hit me yet, but I'm sure it will soon.
What What about this Maryland program has prepared you, do you feel like, for the NFL?
I just want to start with, Coach Locks. He knows what it is to get to the NFL. He knows how you have to prepare. He had a lot of guys, whether through Maryland when he was here before, Alabama, he prepared a lot of guys to go. And, just the coaches he brought in here, the way they practice, the way we practice, the way we go into preparation for games and everything. And, I feel like he adequately prepared me to, take that next step.
Now, for once you're on the sideline and you're not playing in a spring game, does this feel different? Is this a good feeling?
It's a good feeling. Just being around the guys, still being around the guys who, I played with last year, and just, be able to see it from different perspectives, helping the guys out, giving them pointers and everything. So it's definitely a little different, but still fun nonetheless.
Nick, thank you so much. We wish you the very best in the next chapter of your career.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Send it back to the booth.
Thank you, Crystal. And Nick Cross drafted by the Colts last night, and he was the 96th pick coming off the board to the Colts. That's going to be fun in Indianapolis. Terps fans have a couple reasons. Their former quarterback, Scott Milanovic, is the quarterback's coach for the Colts. Now they've got a guy in the defense trying to cause some problems for Milanovic's offense in training camp.
Oh, and their head coach as well.
Right.
Played quarterback here at Maryland. But this Nick Cross is just really impressive player. Flies around the field, plays with a lot of energy. You can just tell he's a leader. Tackles well, hits hard, covers ground really well. And we talked to Mike Loxley about players being drafted here from this program and from Maryland. He's like, listen, you create value for yourself by playing at Maryland. You certainly can't control where or when you go in the draft, but when I take a look at it, right, it's about the opportunity to compete every single day, to be part of an organization, and have somebody give you that chance to make that team.
And it's a growing list of Maryland players since joining the Big Ten that have been high draft picks, too. You think just the past couple of years, Darnell Savage in the first round, DJ Moore at wide receiver in the first round. So Nick Cross becomes the fifth guy since they joined the Big Ten to go in those top three rounds. And speaking of Darnell Savage, by the way, we were talking to Coach Loxley yesterday, right? Former defensive back here in the area, but wondering which of his DBs is most like his game back in the day. He said, I can't pick one of the guys in the current roster. I was the most like Darnell Savage, first-round pick in the NFL draft.
What did he say? They just weren't looking at him?
Right. Scouts just couldn't find him at Towson.
Yep.
Well, obviously, a big core of wide receivers that have made names for themselves coming out of Maryland. Torrey Smith, Darius Hayward-Bay, DJ Moore, who we were just talking about, but Savage and now Nick Cross, two high draft picks in the past couple of years coming out of the secondary.
Yeah, there's no shortage of talent that comes through this program here at Maryland. And there's no shortage of talent on this team that we're watching today. It's about putting it all together. What was the slogan for this year's team, right? Committed and connected. It's playing together, playing as one week in and week out.
Yeah, again, that goes back to the trip to New York for the Pinstripe Bowl that Nick Cross was a part of. We saw the scoop and score that he set up on the sack. Greg China Rose scooped it up for him. He didn't leave anything out of that hit. He brought it all in the Thunder on the sack and the strip.
When you get a free shot at a quarterback, you need to take the most of it. I've taken a couple of those, throughout my career. They don't feel good, but as a defender, you don't get the chance to do that too often.
Practice all the time. You got the yellow or the black jerseys on.
Right, like today, you can't hit the quarterbacks, right? So, again, when you have the chance to do that, you need to make the most of it.
Faust is back at quarterback again for the white team. Well, the line that Mike Loxley kept coming back to last year, even with the big passing numbers and putting up big points, is we still got too many Terps beating Terps, meaning too many penalties. They were 12th in the Big Ten in penalty yardage.
Yeah, that was something that really affected this team last year was the penalties, right? The mental errors, the self-inflicted wounds that you can't have throughout the course of the game, and especially playing in the Big Ten and in the Big Ten East, right? The Ohio States, the Michigans, the Penn States, the Michigan State. So, I mean, it's tough to overcome things like that, and at times it would be a false start on a third down led to a turnover, things like that. It just they weren't able to stop things from snowballing throughout the course of the game at times.
We were talking about it in the facility yesterday. Even with some of those losses in the East, they were right there. The final score and spread didn't say that, but they were right there. But false start on third down or a special teams mishap that getting out of hand a little bit late on their way to 7 wins last year. So we're headed to the fourth quarter. Defense dominating that third quarter. No score since halftime. With the steak and lobster on the line from College Park today. Fourth quarter's next. Start of the fourth quarter from College Park in the red-white game. That first-team offense for the red team had scores on their 2 opening drives, and that lead is held up. NFL Draft Day 3, of course, going on today. Here are some of the guys that have been picked today out of the Big Ten. Hassan Haskins was a guy that caught your eye coming out of Michigan after the Big Ten championship last year onto the college football playoff, getting drafted by the Titans.
Yeah, what a year he had a year ago for that Michigan football team and for that Michigan offense. But if you look at what they have returning this year at the running back spot and that offensive line spot as well, chance to be just as good, if not better. But a big congrats to all those guys from the Big Ten hearing their names selected.
Hassan Haskins, pretty good for a guy that moved to defense early in his career, huh?
Right, yeah, impressive. Just shows you the type of athlete that he is and that some of these guys are, to be able to play wherever you put them, right? The team needs you here. I'm going to go there. I'm going to embrace this role, and I'm going to make the most of it. I'm going to dominate at that position and dominate at my job.
How about Levante Gator today? Another pass deflected. He's come up and made a couple of big hits to jar balls free. He's looked sharp.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. You talk about a guy who has played a lot of football here on the defensive side and on special teams. That's a great throw, by the way. But going back to Gator, he knows he's competing for playing time. He knows what the situation is defensively and in that secondary, and he's showing out today, and he's giving these coaches something to think about, as they head into the summer and training camp. And that's how you drive the football, right there. Doesn't come up with it, but really well done of trying to feed that football in there. Just got to finish that play next time.
Tar Heap still part of that competition we were just talking about with Gator. Still, you might be wondering why he's wearing the black jersey today. He had off-season shoulder surgery. Tar Heap still, it was great in the return game and also in coverage last year for Maryland. He battled through that shoulder all year and then waited until the off-season until he finally got surgery. So that's why he's in the black jersey, which is the non-contact uniform that the quarterbacks are wearing and some of the partial participants are wearing. So first look at Ryan Duell, Westchester, Pennsylvania. This was Talia Tangaveloa's red team offense for the first 3 quarters, but now turning it over to Duell. Hasn't played in a college game yet. There's an injured Terp down in the field. Looks like Isaac Bunyan, who's on the left of your screen there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bunyan gets rolled up on by Clayton Allen there. And Bunyan's another one of those defensive linemen, right? Appeared in 10 of 13 games a year ago, 6 tackles. But we were talking about Ami Finau a little while ago. Bunyan's another one of those guys that protects his gap very well in the run game. Sees really well, understands what offenses are trying to do. Holds his ground well. He's a strong guy.
Yeah, takes after Ziggy Ansah a little bit. A longtime pass rusher in the NFL. Both are from Ghana. And that pass knocked down from Duell. So it'll be third down on Duell's first drive. There's Jayshawn Barham, who's an early enrollee, one of 6. A lot of the guys that are early enrollees are on the defense. Barham has a chance to start on opening night at linebacker.
Yeah, and Loxley talked about the competition at the linebacker spot. Barham is one of those guys that is pushing the upperclassmen in that competition. 6'3", 230, 4-star recruit. Right here, another guy from District Heights, Maryland. Consensus 4-star linebacker, 65th ranked player in the country, according to ESPN. He's the type of guy that can not just change your defense, but can change the direction of your program.
You pointed to him when we were talking to Mike Locksley yesterday as an indicator of how guys are staying home. Big-time linebacker from the area. A lot of those 4-star, 5-star guys might have gone to another Big Ten school in years past, but not with Mike Locksley here.
That shows you the job Locksley has done with this program and where they're headed. Right, guys are not leaving anymore, right? They're staying at Maryland. They're going to the school they've always wanted to play for, right? They're staying home. They want to be a part of the change. They want to be a part of the culture here. They want to be a part of that atmosphere, that winning mentality that Mike Locksley is bringing to this Maryland program.
We got a couple of guys at linebacker that have come in early, him and Caleb Wheatland. Those were the two guys that Mike Locksley identified on Brian Williams' defense, now the defensive coordinator, that could start an opening night. Those are the two most likely guys to start an opening night that have come in early. And there's a look at Brian Williams. Helped revive the program at UAB and has been on the staff since Mike Locksley got here, working with the linebackers and the D-line before, and now he gets to call the plays after he did a great job those final 2 games last year.
Yeah, again, you can tell that this team was just playing with a lot more energy, a lot more passion. Guys were rallying around one another. It was fun to watch, that Rutgers game and that Virginia Tech game. It shows you what they're capable of doing as a complete unit. We're talking recruiting, one of the better recruiters in all of the Big Ten as well, Brian Williams.
Mike Locksley saying with Brian Williams being a big-time recruiter and play caller, if people like you, they're going to buy from you.
Right.
And people like Brian Williams. They're buying what he's talking about on that defensive room right now.
That's the thing. You mentioned Caleb Wheatland, right? A guy from Virginia, 6'2", 235, a top 15 player in Virginia, the 21st ranked inside linebacker, in the country. So continuing to get players like that, the difference makers, the guys that can step in and compete and play for you, week in and week out, right? You continue to get guys like that, the difference makers, right? Then that's when you can start to do some impressive things throughout the fall.
And Matt, that's adding to a defense that we talked about, closed the season well. Before Brian Williams was calling the plays, defense allowed 30 points a game. 2 games that he called, 13 points a game. Cut it in half and then some.
Right, it just looked like a complete football team, right? The offense was clicking, defense was playing with a lot of pride. It was fun to watch, and again, that's what the team's capable of doing. What we saw against Rutgers, what we saw against Virginia Tech, that's what's expected now here in 2022.
Brian Williams will help out getting guys from Florida. We talked about his recruiting prowess. Finished up his degree at Florida A&M when he was in school. Got connections down there. Dipping into the Florida pipeline for Maryland. They've already done that a little bit, right? Jacob Copeland, wide receiver, getting him up from Florida, and several guys across the defense, too.
It's a nice throw by Zach Jackson there. As they bring Nigerian back in here to get some more reps. It looks like they're taking a look at a lot of these guys here, too, behind Talia. Seeing what the depth looks like, see what each guy has, and who can contribute.
It was Jackson before Nigerian, the redshirt freshman from Virginia. Now Nigerian handing it off. It was Robert Smith who made that last catch, who debuted in the bowl game, the young wide receiver. Interesting connection to you, actually, with Robert Smith. His dad was the Texans GM. Late career in the NFL. Part of signing you.
Yeah, right, yeah. Bill O'Brien was the head coach as well. Yeah, they signed me, I think, almost towards the end of the NFL season. I was there for about 5 days.
Was that 2017?
It was 2017. They signed me on, a Thursday or a Friday, and then they released me on a Tuesday. So I'm not sure why I only played there for 5 days. I never got a reason for it, but hey, it's part of the business, and I've been on the good side of the NFL. I've also been on the bad side of the NFL in moments like that. So, but yeah, no, you mentioned Robert Smith, right? Made that career debut in the Pinstripe Bowl against Virginia Tech, and another one of those guys who is competing for playing time. 6'1", 190. Certainly brings a lot to the table as a young wide receiver.
Favorite note on Robert Smith: his cousin is Beyonce.
That's impressive. Think he gets free concert tickets?
I would think so.
Yeah, okay.
Should have no trouble getting in formation.
Nice.
Here's Najarian stepping up and lobs that short. So the white team turns it over. I'm glad you caught that, by the way.
Yeah, that was good.
I thought you were going to let it slide.
That was good. Speaking of good, there's Levante Gator once again. Being really good in coverage on Holloway. Really impressed with him today, Gator, and the way he's playing. You know, I think that experience is really starting to catch up, right? And that's when talent, experience start to mesh. You're able to start to put everything together, and it starts to show on the field.
Him, Deontay Banks, Jacorian Bennett, Tarheeb Still. Names that Maryland fans have heard over and over again in the defensive backfield, and now have them all back in there together. After the injury to Banks last year. Duels back in at quarterback again.
Well, that's Vandarius Cowan on the tackle there, right? 6'4", 240. Transfer who spent the last 4 years at West Virginia. You can tell he's a veteran, you know, in some of the plays we've seen today. And again, going back to that scrimmage we watched on Saturday. He had a really good scrimmage, made a lot of plays, and he's making some plays out here today.
So Tangaveloa is back in and setting up a trick play that gets blown up. Bo Braid coming up from safety, one of those young safeties that's replacing Nick Cross. He was having none of it with C.J. Dupree looking like he was going to throw that ball.
It looked like Nick Cross right there with that play. He did, and that is what Bo Braid is going to have to do in that safety position. There's so much of these corners and these secondaries, and with Brian Williams, the defensive coordinator, they ask these guys to make big plays in the run game, and he reacts. He sees it, understands what they're trying to do, and it's a big play for Bo Braid and this white defense.
But the white team was offside.
Can't happen.
So 5 yards on the trick play with the net. It looked like Bo Braid had maybe seen them and Skelly practice that play.
It does get to that point sometimes, right? Throughout spring practice, throughout training camp, right? Defense starts to know what play you're running. Offense starts to know defensive tendencies and coverage and blitzes. It does get frustrating at times.
Well, the defense all over Talia. They had the play fake covered and the quarterback on the pole. It was Cowan again with Trader coming up from safety too.
There you go, back-to-back plays, Bo Braid or Dante Trader.
4th and 7 from the
48.
48.
The red team will punt. Trader, who made that play, he was actually going to play lacrosse. Decided early in the spring he was just going to focus on football instead of joining the #1 Terps in lacrosse.
You know, he's another guy too. His dream school since he was young was Maryland. Right, he's from Delaware, but even an East Coast guy, relatively close to the area. A big get for this school. He's played in a lot of football for them. 12 or 13 games a year ago, 16 tackles. Dad played football at Widener, right? Comes from a football family. You can tell he just has a passion for playing this game. All
right, so the white team coming back out. And coming up next, see the Gophers in action during live coverage of Minnesota spring football right here on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Tanner Morgan will quarterback Team Maroon coming up after this. 5th year as the starter for P.J. Fleck and the Gophers. You see that the other day? He put up 500 pounds on the bench press. Tanner Morgan. What's your biggest number?
Well, I gotta know. I just went to dumbbell bench press, you know, towards the end of my career. Connor, come on.
Isolate in the pecs. I got you.
That is impressive. 500 pounds. It's impressive.
You're not going to give it?
Was it bench or squat? Because
bench.
That's impressive if that was. Wow.
You're not putting that out there, huh? You're best on the bench?
No.
Okay.
No.
Even with the follow-up, you're gonna deflect.
I will not. Yeah. I wasn't a huge benchy type quarterback. That wasn't one of my strengths in the weight room.
You're on the bands. You're on the bands.
I like resistance band work. Yeah.
Knew it. Knew it.
But he's poised to have a big year, Tanner Morgan. bringing him back, his experience, everything he's done. Certainly he's experienced the ups and downs that you experience as a quarterback in the Big Ten. But a leader for that program, is definitely set to have a great year.
So, Matt, we saw at the end of the first half, the white team march down and get a score in the 2-minute drill. That was with Eric Nigerian. This is with David Faust again. So, one of the guys behind Talia Tangaveloa gets a shot against the red defense here. 4th and short here, trying to keep the drive going. And Colby McDonald's got a ton of space. Kept it on the ground on 4th down and got past midfield with McDonald.
He's had a great day today running the football, Colby McDonald. Really making an impression on his teammates and on his coaches.
Matt, talking about that running game, the passing game for Maryland last year was 3rd in the Big Ten in passing yards. The running game, 10th in the Big Ten. The split, as far as the play calls, was right down the middle, 50-50.
If this running game can just improve a little bit, it's going to do wonders for that pass game. It'll open it up even more. They like to RPO a lot too, right? Especially on early downs. Enos likes to get Talia out on the move a little bit. He loves the quick flat throws in the tight ends or wide receivers, the bubble throws, the quick slants in behind linebackers in the run game. If you can be more of a threat in the run game, right, safeties are going to bite more, linebackers are going to bite more, and it's just going to create much more easier throws for Talia and the rest of this offense.
And Tagovailoa does not need a 100-yard rusher, right? I mean, just somebody to keep you honest.
Yeah, well, look, any team, you want to be successful in the run game, right? You want to be a good football team in the Big Ten, you got to be able to run the football. Well, they don't need to go from 10 to 1, right? But you go from 10 to maybe 6, 10 to 7, right? That's going to help you tremendously. And again, with the weapons they have at wideout, everybody would be tuned in on that. But seeing these running backs in action today, Roman Hemby, Colby McDonald, man, it's been impressive.
And that pass knocked down. So David Faust backed up after the penalty. Blunt in his face. Cameron Blunt, 4th year in the program for him. He knows what it's like to be in Faust positions right now. He was a two-way quarterback in high school. Now playing along the front 7 for Maryland. So what are we thinking here? Quick score for the white team and then onside kick?
You always want to score, right? Especially in a 2-minute drill. But there's nothing wrong with Faust doing right now. Taking completions, right? Slowly walking down the field. He's got some time.
Joseph Burns with the catch. One of the guys that played at St. Francis Academy here locally. Won a couple of national titles in high school. And he had the underneath route there. And then a big hit coming up from cornerback from Isaiah Hazel. He drilled Robert Smith after the first down.
That's a really good throw by Faust right there, right? We want to try to throw the ball outside, catch, get out of bounds, give our guys a chance to make the play, keep the ball safe. He does that. It's a great job by Smith using his body, but he takes a big hit from Hazel, who, again, these safeties, these corners, they're not afraid to hit. They're not afraid to make plays like that in the pass game, and they're not afraid to go up and stick their nose in the run game.
That got RJ, our audio man, on alert there. Man, that was
crunch. Yeah, that was loud. Talking about those younger linebackers, there's Caleb Wheatland right there on the screenplay. A lot of power there. 6'2", 235. One of the top-ranked recruits out of Virginia. Big play. I mean, him and Barnum today have stood out to me.
Wheatland's a guy that's an older early enrollee. He reclassified. So he's 19 instead of 18. Coming in a little bit more mature than your typical early enrollee. Faust gets out of the pocket, and you spot him down at the 13. So this is first half and second half when we've gone to the regular rules in the 2-minute drill. The white team's been able to move the ball, this time with Faust. Setting up on a third down, trying to get it into the end zone after they settled for the field goal before halftime. And back out into the flat and incomplete. Is it too early to start asking your analysts the question of, do you go for it or do you kick the field goal?
I'd give him a chance. Let him go for it here. Right? Let somebody make a play. Give somebody an opportunity to make a play for you.
Well, they converted on the 4th and short earlier in the drive, kept it on the ground. And the red team hoping they can get a stop, maybe kneel it out after this. Here's Faust on 4th and 7, and right at the sticks. It's going to be close. I think they got it. Robert Smith, second catch on the drive. They're going to give it to him. 1st and goal with inside 20 seconds to go.
That's a really good route by Robert Smith there. On the inside, attacking leverage, getting big, knowing where the sticks are, right in that situation. You don't want to come up short. Very nice job by him.
Move the pocket for Faust, and short underneath for Weston Wolf. Another guy that you were impressed by yesterday, and in this scrimmage, he's had a couple of catches.
Yeah, he's done a nice job today. One of the guys that absolutely has stood out here today. Redshirt freshman. Again, 6'4", 230. Uses his hands really well for a big guy. You know, a lot of time you get these big tight ends who are younger players, tend to try to catch it with their bodies, but Wolf uses his hands like a vet. Smooth hands as well, right? Catches it really smooth, runs really well. He's done some nice things today.
So timeout. 6 seconds to go. Probably the final play in this game. Maybe 1 or 2 more plays. Was Gator again on the tackle, by the way.
He's been all over the field today.
All right, I asked you if you would keep the offense on the field. Now get you prepped for the fall. What's your play call on 2nd and goal with 6 seconds left in the game? Man beater here?
I'm going to throw, yeah. Oh, you're throwing for the end zone, absolutely, right? He's got one-on-one up top if he wants it.
Rolled out for Faust. And looking into that trip
Just be
set.
careful.
Yep.
Be careful.
I think we're going to call that a game. Clock's at 0-0s, and it's the red team grittying their way onto the field. They've won the steak and lobster dinner. White team gets the beans and the hot dogs. So Talia Tangaveloa and the offense score on the opening 2 drives, and that holds up in the spring game for Maryland. A couple guys nicked up here and there, but for the most part, they get out relatively healthy as far as guys going down, and got to look at a couple of different quarterbacks with Faust and Nigerian, too.
Yeah, you look at a lot of guys individually here today, right, in a spring game like this. Watered-down game plan, as we know, but Ahmad McCullough made a lot of nice plays for them defensively. Dante Trader, Bo Braid, those guys made good plays for them. The younger guys, right, Barham and Wheatland. I mean, look at the offensive side, right? Weston Wolf had a nice day. Colby McDonald, yeah, really ran the football well.
Roman Hemby had that touchdown.
Roman Hemby had that touchdown. Offensive line looked really good as well. So a lot of encouraging, a lot of positive things from this red and white game.
All right, let's get down to Crystal with Coach.
Coach, I feel like things fast-forwarded to November late in this game. What did you see out of your defense today?
You know, I like the way they responded. I thought the first couple of drives, things looked easy, but I was glad to see that both sides on defense settle down. You know, a low-scoring game, it was competitive. That's the big thing you want to get coming out of a game like this.
You spoke highly about your offensive line. We saw some good things on the D-line as well. What did you see out of the trenches?
Yeah, I mean, it's the win in the Big Ten, it starts up front, and we have to develop a offensive line with our 1s and 2s, and then our defensive front 7 is going to be really important. Some of the young additions of Jay Sean Barham, Caleb Wheatland, bringing guys in like Andre Roy as well as Maximus McCree will help us continue to develop both sides of the ball in the trenches.
And what was your biggest takeaway from the spring game?
That we got out as healthy as we possibly could. I like the competitiveness, but obviously we still got a lot of work to do, and I'm glad we got out healthy.
Coach, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Crystal. he said still got a lot of work to do. I mean, what's the area that you point to as something they got to prep in the summer to get ready for Buffalo September 3rd?
You know, the talent is there, right? There's no question about that. Talia, this offensive line, the wide receivers they have, talent now at the linebacker position, defensive line, the depth at corners and the safety spot. It's about putting it all together, right? And doing it week in and week out and not beating yourself, which they did at times last year.
One of the pieces that looked very, very good early in this spring game was the quarterback, Talia Tangaveloa. He's with Crystal.
Guys, man of the hour right now. Talia, after last season's 7-6 campaign, what are your goals for the upcoming season, starting with the spring game?
Starting with the spring game, it was just getting used to, our new teammates coming in. We got some transfers, and we got some of our old starters out right now. So just getting the timing and being comfortable with the offense and stuff like that. So we're just looking to get better.
Now, you spoke about getting your camaraderie up with some of the new guys. It seems like you already have a pretty strong connection with Jacob Coleman. What do you see out of that?
Yeah, Cope's a great athlete. Nice routes. He has great hands and he's very competitive. So, he's a great addition to our receiver room. And, I'm looking forward to the great things that he's going to do in the season.
And it seems like you have some good protection up front. Your O-line seemed pretty strong today. Is that building your confidence ahead of next season?
100%. I always tell them my success is because of their success. And I think that's probably the biggest group that improved through the spring campaign and stuff. So I'm very excited for them. And I just got to continue to take care of them like they take care of me.
Talia, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Crystal. So Talia Tangaveloa, after that record-breaking season last year, good start to a spring game.
Just really smooth and really comfortable today. Looked confident out there as well. Know where he wanted to go with the football. Trusted his wide receivers. It's fantastic to see the relationship he's already built with Copeland, who hasn't been around very long. It looks like he's ready to take the next step this year, right? And it's been a pleasure to watch him play today. Really looking forward to watching him this fall.
All right, so Tangaveloa with a good showing in the spring game. Red team wins it, and they get the steak and lobsters. We'll wrap it up right after this from College Park before getting you out to Minnesota for the spring game up in Minneapolis. We'll be back right after this. Red team wins it 14-3. And on the line today, steak and lobster meal for the winner. Loser gets hot dogs and beans. So that's the fate of the white team, who scored just 3. On the red team, Jacob Copeland got it started. First look at him as a Terp after the transfer from Florida.
You have to come out of the spring in the spring game today feeling good, knowing what you're getting out of a guy like Jacob Copeland. And how fast it looks like it's happening for him, right? To be able to get those reps throughout the entire spring, to pick up the offense, what Dan Enos wants out of him. Very impressive day today.
And Colby McDonald, if you're interested in spring game stats, he had about 150 all-purpose yards in the spring game.
Impressive. A guy that appeared 8 games a year ago, looking to take the next step and play more this year. And if he continues to do things like he did today in the spring game, who knows? He could be the featured back in the fall.
It was Tayon Fleet Davis last year in the competition to be that lead back this year for Mike Loxley and the Terps. Yeah, great stuff. Great working with you, man.
Pleasure. Great day for spring football. It's fantastic to be in this atmosphere here at Maryland. Really looking forward to watching this team. I think they can make some noise in the Big Ten East this fall.
All right, that's Matt McGloin, Crystal Rich down in the sidelines. Connor Onion saying so long from College Park, where the red team wins it. Stay tuned next for Minnesota spring football, right here on the Big Ten Network.